Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network, Fantasy Alarm, Monday afternoon with you here on a doubleheader for Monday Night Football tonight. It's going to be some awesome games here. I got Howard Bender with me back on a Monday. What's up, Howard?
I'm just sitting here mugging for the camera time, you know. I mean, you're sitting there doing the intro. You get to speak all those introductory words. So I just try to, draw some focus away because it's all about me, Servo. It's all about me. Come on.
It's all about you. We're going to review our week 2 picks. And if you missed Friday's show, it is all about Howard because he hit on some of his bets again. I hit on a few too, but it's all about Howard. So we're gonna review how we did in week 2. Again, 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. So me and Howard will be both giving out some game picks, some props for those 2 games tonight. And then we'll wrap up the show with some baseball picks if you want to have something else going tonight. I know we both got a couple leans, but we are glued into the NFL and for me, college football. So, just a couple picks, though, to wet the whistle there. But, it was a fun Sunday of games. So you went 3-2 on your game picks, 2-0 on your props that you gave out. And 2 for 2 on your touchdown calls, plus money touchdown calls. So those are some of you can see all the picks flashing up here. I went 3-1 on my game picks, 1-2 on props, and missed on my touchdown call for Jahmyr Gibbs. I will say right off the bat, the miss I had on the Ramondre Stevenson was 50.5 rushing yards. He had 50 on the dot there last night in that Dolphins-Patriots game. So barely missed on that. So that's a bummer. But if they, the Patriots got the ball back and they just needed to hand it off one more time, but they were playing kind of catch up and were throwing. So, but yeah, you can see some of the bets we hit on, some of the misses we got. But the Bills, big winner for you. They handled that game. That was a good call on that one. The Colts pulled out the win, even though Anthony Richardson got knocked out of the game. So that was a clutch win for you. The under last night in Dolphins-Patriots was a good read because that was definitely a lower scoring game there. Reviewing week 2, reviewing yesterday's wins and losses. How do you feel, Howard?
I mean, listen, I feel great. Anytime you can go 7-2 on your bets after an 8-1 week 1, I think you got to be loving life for sure. I mean, listen, I thought it was, the Colts had that game well in hand with Anthony Richardson. They also, they were totally fine. Like as soon as he came out and Zach Moss went bang, 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 you knew you were just in a good spot for that game. It's funny. I mean, like the wins are like, yeah, whatever. It's the losses that are great on me even more so. And like, you see it right there. I appreciate Adam Bernard, our producer, being like winning impaired as opposed to just losers. But meanwhile, you and I, we talked about the hedge off of that Kansas City Jaguars game that we were going to have. What a snoozer that one turned out to be. But, we were talking about hedging that one there with that extra half a point because the line moved at the last minute and the Jags were getting that extra hook. So you ended up turning out on that one there. The hedge did not for me. But I think the big loss, really, the one that hurts the most is obviously the Broncos. Losing outright again, going in home favorite, first 2 weeks of the season. Like, I got to figure that one out. I was too disgusted with the game to really kind of understand, like the magnitude of just that. But I mean, to lose outright again as a home favorite is just terrible. And to have that game so well in hand, or at least possibly in hand, there on 21-3 at the half,
right?
And then you let Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy just shove you around. How many times do we have to look at that stupid picture of Bieniemy and Vance Joseph in college? Right, both playing for Colorado State. I don't care what they looked like back
Colorado,
then.
yeah.
What I care about right now is that Eric Bieniemy has got Vance Joseph's pants down right now, and he's just giving him a red fanny because Bieniemy and the I almost said the Nationals, the Commanders. They just, I mean, to see that comeback there, I mean, that really hurt me. That was like, Vance Joseph, you suck. Sean Payton, how do you take your foot off the gas like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a double dose of like a painful one because they hit that Hail Mary to almost tie it up at the last play, and then they needed the 2-point conversion to send it into overtime, and they didn't. But if they get that, then who knows what happens in overtime? They could score a touchdown to win and cover for you. But that was a good read on it. It was the right read because they were up 21-3, and it was just they fell apart. I mean, credit to the Commanders for pulling that comeback off. But I mean, that's a tough one. I got lucky with maybe lucky, whatever, but the Falcons money line winning.
Dude, that was tight, man. Pick. I love that. I told you I love that pick. I knew I saw them kicking that field goal at the end. Rock solid. Solid.
I mean, easily could have lost that, but I did have a feeling they'd pull it out. So that was a good come through win there. Yeah, the Chiefs Jaguars game you touched on, kind of. I mean, a lot lower scoring than I think we both expected.
Oh my God, dude. I was like unconscious. It was like listening to a Steely Dan album after like smoking a fatty at 2:00 in the morning, right? The things that make you fall asleep immediately. Put on that Jags Chiefs debacle.
I hit on the Seahawks +5 there. They ended up winning outright in overtime that game, but that was another high scoring game. We saw last year the Seahawks Lions play a higher scoring one and another one here, but the Seahawks was a winner there. I mentioned missed on the Ramondre Stevenson, missed on the Jets Cowboys under, which it was, there's only 40 points scored in the game. So I'd still missed the under, which was 38.5.
That game was vomitous. Like as a Jets fan, can we bring Bernard in here for a sec? Because Bernard and I sat there and lamented over our Jets. Adam, true or false? Watching the Cowboys kick like multiple field goals at the end was kind of like when you watch a nature show and they show a buzzard like sitting over a carcass and just pecking at it, and the carcass isn't dead. The carcass is like still moaning, baking in the sun, knowing that death is inevitable. That to me was what it was like to watch that Jets game. Can you confirm or deny that?
Well, I mean, it's either those field goals at the end or like, what if they just get in the end zone all those times and it ends up being like a 58-10 like kind of final? I don't know if I want that either.
Well, you know what? Put that on my resume, for crying out loud, dude. That was awful. That was pathetic. We were pathetic.
I fell asleep during the first half. It was just like, yeah.
See?
And then so the second half, I was like, okay, this is what I'm awake for now. It's great.
Right? We napped with Kansas City against the Jaguars, right? Then we woke up, we ate, smoked, and then napped with the second half of the Jets game. That was just that.
Well, that game was going on at the same time the Giants were making their comeback.
Yes. Thank you, Dan Servodidio. What a great point to make. Awesome. Can we take me out of this live stream and just leave you here, Adam?
I mean, I will admit, I remember thinking at halftime of that game, we're like, well, as bad as it is for the Jets, at least we're not the Giants. But the Giants bounced back. So, there you go.
Can you imagine if the Giants did not win that game? It would have been ugly.
And then you have the short week with the Niners coming up, 0-3.
Once the announcers started being like, it hasn't been since the 1970 Baltimore Colts that any team's given up more than 75 points without scoring a point of their own to start the season. Weeks 1 and 2, they were down 78-0. I was like, stop. Like my wife is sitting there getting more and more angry. Her vagina is completely sealing up. There's zero chance of getting any action when she's that angry about her Giants. And then the comeback happened and my Jets vulture pecked my heart away, and it was a debacle all over the place. It's a good thing I went 7-2. Otherwise, I'd be dead right now.
Yeah, and you hit on your touchdown calls of Mike Evans and Saquon, so that was awesome. Missed on Jahmyr Gibbs for me. Shout out to Sean McVay, who kick, if you had the Rams against the spread, you are a fan of Sean McVay because he kicked that late field goal when the game was basically over to cover the spread against the Niners. So thankfully, neither of us gave out, the Niners as a pick. But if you were on the Rams, then you love Sean McVay just going for the cover field goal late in that one. Wild.
That's just dirty. That's just filthy. It is. I didn't bet it either, right? But yeah, I mean that's just that's annoying. Sean McVay's probably like, he doesn't even know anybody who bet the game, but he's probably like, you know what? Anybody who bet against us to cover this spread, fuck those guys. I'm kicking that fucking field goal right now.
I don't know if NFL coaches have this stuff like, under the table, like in their contract, but I do know like a lot of coaches, college football coaches, sometimes they have in their contract, like, record against the spread. If you go a certain amount over the spread, then you get like some kind of bonus at the end of the year. So we will see coaches, play for it. Actually happened. I gave out Georgia Tech against the spread over on last Thursday this weekend. And they scored a touchdown late to cover the spread against Ole Miss. And then Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss came down and scored another touchdown. You kind of think like, all right, he's got something in his contract to make sure he covers the spread on these big games. But so interesting there. And also shout out, speaking of college football, shout out to Statement Games, who went 7-0 on our only team to go undefeated in last week's Servo 7 contest over on Bettor Edge. Nice. So shout out to him. Yeah, going 7-0 is tough there. Picking over unders, but I mean, I think I have good reads on him, and I'm not going 7-0.
Picking over unders in college.
Yeah,
over.
Yeah. So, over. Over.
I saw a team win 83-6.
I think Oregon did that in week 1. It was like 81-7, their final score. But yeah, come back Wednesday and Thursday show. I'll give out more info on how to enter this week's Bettor Edge contest. Huge games in college football this weekend. We got Clemson, Florida State, Alabama against Ole Miss, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Some huge, really good games. So definitely be touched on that later in the week. All right, let's turn the page to tonight, Monday Night Football. We got 2 games to break down, some picks and some props to give out to everyone here. If you got your own picks that you want to throw out in the chat, definitely hit us up here, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Twitter, the Discord, wherever you're watching here. Definitely throw out your own picks and predictions in the chat here. Let's start with Saints Panthers, the first game to kick off tonight. I think it's 7:15 Eastern is the first kick there. Saints 3-point favorites on the spread. We got an over/under of 39.5 here. Where are you going with your bets for this one?
All right, so I'm looking at I'm taking the Saints. I'm gonna lay the points, and I'm gonna go with the under. So I wrote all this up over at fantasyalarm.com. You can check the best bets article right over there. The reason that I'm just when I see a point spread this an over under total that low, and then you see a point spread that's it's that short, one of two things is going to happen. Either you take the underdog, or one team's going to score a bunch and the other isn't. And I kind of feel like that's where we're looking at right now. Saints defense, listen, the pass defense didn't have to do a lot to beat up on Tennessee in week 1, right? It was like Ryan Tannehill looked terrible, but that run defense did a good job of containing Derrick Henry. You held him to under 70 yards. He didn't get into the end zone in week 1. And I think that's kind of a big deal. You look at the Panthers, and now you're talking about Marshawn Lattimore and a rock solid secondary going up against Bryce Young with, his hodgepodge of receivers who are, banged up and inexperienced and old and broken. I could see like Miles Sanders getting some, good passing, receptions. In this one, I looked for that prop. I couldn't find it. But, I just kind of feel like, just Carolina's a team, even at home as a Monday night home underdog. And Monday night dogs, I guess, it's been like a betting myth for years and years and years. And, it's sort of really kind of faded out over the last couple of seasons if you actually look at the data. So, while my instinct was to go to the Panthers plus the 3. I just feel like they're going to have a hard time scoring against the Saints. Just their personnel is, to me, rock solid. So, and I think the Saints just kind of, hold court here. I feel like this could be like a 24-10 game sort of a thing.
I do think it'll be lower scoring. I'm on the other side though. I like the Panthers plus the 3 there. I just think that the Saints just being a little too much overvalued and still not proven enough for me. I know they got the good win over the Titans, over a solid Titans team. But I just think that game is maybe being, having them be overvalued here. Because they, the Panthers, obviously they lost by 14 to the Falcons last week. But they were tied with the Falcons after 3 quarters. Falcons scored 14 fourth quarter points to pull away there. But, the Panthers held firm for a bit there. And I think like Bryce Young, that was his first start on the road. In his first NFL start against a division opponent. I think he's going to be more comfortable this second week at home now. I do think you mentioned Sanders. I think that, the run game, having him, Sanders and Chuba Hubbard to kind of lean on helps Bryce Young for sure. But, you kind of poo-pooed the receiving core, but I like the weapons around him to kind of lean on Hayden Hurst, lean on, veterans and Thielen. DJ Chark's possibly going to be back for this week, which I think will help. But also, Mingo's
possibly going to be back. We don't know already. Are we still wondering if DJ
he's
Chark
questionable? But I think we got to see what the injury report comes out before, see if he's active before kickoff. But he's been, I think, trending towards playing.
Let me see if I can find an update here on DJ Chark. I mean, Terrace Marshall Jr., Jonathan Mingo, they're good dart throws. Says that Chark is trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also on the other side, though, I think like the Panthers pass rush is legit with Brian Bird's anchoring that. Derek Brown too. I think they could kind of put pressure on Carr here because I know Carr, like he threw for a bunch of yards last week against the Titans, but he still hasn't proven that like he's going to be really good in the Saints offense going forward. And I think if they pressure him a little bit, the absence of Kamara is going to, become more glaring that they're kind of the offense might, the run game is going to be one dimensional with Jamal Williams there. And a key stat that I saw was that the Panthers. So last week I faded the Panthers on a stat because Frank Reich week 1 against the spread. He's been terrible as a head coach. I think it's like 0-5-1 against the spread as a head coach in week 1, but week 2, 4-1 straight up. In week 2. So his teams, start slow in week 1, but that shows me that his teams can rebound, can make the adjustments going into week 2. So I have faith in Frank Reich, Bryce Young, just being a little bit more comfortable and gelling. And especially on the offensive side, I think Bryce Young can make some plays here and splash. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers have the lead or win this game outright in the fourth quarter. So I like the value on getting the Panthers field goal here.
Well, it's a little before your time, but if we were like, Jane Curtin and Chevy Chase on the old Saturday Night Live news, I could say, Jane, you ignorant slut. Or maybe that was Dan Aykroyd who said that to her on Point and Counterpoint. Either way, old school Saturday Night Live. No, listen, man, I get your side of things. I get the way you're looking at that game. I don't love the Panthers secondary against this passing attack. I mean, Olave, we saw good stuff out of Michael Thomas. I love me some Juwan Johnson. Carolina traditionally has always been, because their linebackers like to pressure the QB so much, all of a sudden they end up losing out on seeing the tight end. And so, they're traditionally a bad team against the tight end. So kind of like Juwan Johnson for that. Got a solid ground game, solid offensive line. I mean, yeah, I think, listen, there's a reason that it's like a 3-point spread, right? The Panthers are 3-point underdog here. Aren't you supposed to get 3 points? So are they saying that the Saints really are going to win this, should win this game by 6? Is that what we're saying? I don't know, man. I mean, listen, I get you on your take. You get me on my take. What Whatever.
I
One
do
of us
like
has to be right, and that usually is me. So, whatever.
I do like you saying it's gonna be under 39.5, because that kind of leans me towards like, all right, I like the underdog then if it's gonna be a lower scoring game. And +3, you get the push if it is a 3-point loss. Ethan Quimby
24-10.
24-10. Ethan Quimby chiming in here saying, "Sup, fellas, my lock of the night is Michael Thomas over 4 receptions. He's a perfect 10 for 10 in his career against the Panthers. Also covered the first game with Carr last week." Yeah, I mean, listen, Michael Thomas is people have kind of forgot him out, but he's going to be a difference maker this year. I think you got a pick on Thomas, right, for this game?
I mean, not only I love this, Ethan, because not only did I give out over 4.5 receptions for Michael Thomas on the RT Sports Pick'em contest that I did a video for in the morning, but I also, yes, Michael Thomas, I'll go one better than getting all those receptions. How about Michael Thomas anytime touchdown, +220 on DK? He's got, yes, I mean, his success against the defensive unit, even though the coaching staff has kind of been changed and altered, Thomas does have a nice, history against the Carolina Panthers. Listen, I think because it's a primetime game. Like all of a sudden it's Monday Night Football. Michael Thomas comes back. He has a good, solid first game, right? Had a really nice effort there. 8 targets, 5 catches. And now all of a sudden he's on primetime. Boom. I'm going to do that. And yeah, I think he gets that primetime touchdown so that he can announce to the world that, he's back.
Yeah, everyone's going to be trying to trade for him in fantasy and everything. Ethan also says he's 1 for 1 on his picks on this show after Jorge Polanco hits came through last week. Awesome. I do remember that. You gave out Jorge Polanco. He had great BVP numbers against whoever was on the mound there. So, yeah, good call. All right. Well, one of my bets I'll give out here, I like the Jamal Williams over 57.5 rushing yards tonight because, he faced, obviously, the Titans last week. They were the best rush defense in the league last year and held him to 45 rushing yards. But we just saw the Titans shut down Joshua Kelly from the Chargers, their lead back this week with Eckler out. Held him to 39 yards. So this is a matchup thing where the Titans you're waving your hands at me.
Can I just tell you how much money I won on taking
Josh Kelly's under? I took his under
Kelly's
too.
Rushing yard
as
prop.
soon as so I saw you tweet that out, and I was like, "Yep, I'm in line with that." And it was a good call. But yeah, kind of bounce back for Jamal Williams here because last week, the Saints without Alvin Kamara now. This is Jamal Williams' backfield because Kendre Miller is, he's questionable with a hamstring injury. He might be out tonight, but he didn't get a single carry last week when he got hurt. But besides him, this is Williams. He had 18 carries last week, only had those 45 rushing yards. But if he's getting the rushing volume of, 18 carries, 15 to 20 touches per game, he's going to go over this line because when he got the volume last year, with the Lions, he was going 60 plus rushing yards almost every game. I think it's 8 of 12 games or 9 of 11 games he went 60 plus or at least 59 rushing yards. So over this prop last year when he got 15 plus carries with the Lions. So
is this your hedge on your game bet here? Is this what this is?
No, I just think that the Saints are going to have more success on the ground this week than they did last week.
Running the football is a luxury of the winning team. We talk about this all the time, man. Like, look at how carved up.
Not necessarily,
dude. Look at how Atlanta carved up Carolina's run defense last week. Listen, Bijan and Algier. I mean, it was like it was like when like Andre the Giant would like shove some like normal sized person in the face and push him down. Like that was what Bijan and Algier did to this Panthers run defense. Of course, Jamal Williams is going to do the same. He's going to have himself a great game. Saints are going to win that battle at the line of scrimmage. They're going to run the football. They're going to wear that defense down. They're going to open it up. Bing, bang, boom. Touchdowns for Michael Thomas. 24-10 New Orleans Saints over the Carolina Panthers. And your Jamal Williams prop hits because he rushes for like 87 yards and a touchdown.
Listen, both things can be true, that a running back can still rack up yards and the team loses. I don't think I need to fully explain that. I'm just pulling up last week's game because Panthers lost 24-10, but guess what? Miles Sanders had 72 rushing yards on his 18 carries. I think we could see easily a similar stat line for Jamal Williams here, but that doesn't mean they're going to win the game.
Wait, Miles Sanders did what? Who, what, where?
Last week, Panthers against Falcons, right?
Yeah. That's the Falcons' run defense. Who cares about the Falcons' run defense? Doesn't have anything to do with the air.
I know. I'm just bringing up, the fact that the Panthers lost by 14 points in that game, a 24-10 final, which you just said could be the final score of this game. Miles Sanders on the losing team had 72 rushing yards on 18 carries.
Right. Okay.
I think Jamal Williams could do the same thing if I have the Panthers winning
and be on the losing team. I got you now.
So I still think Jamal Williams
you took the scenic route, but we both ended up in the same place. Yeah.
So anyway, I have Jamal Williams going over his rushing yards.
Just admit that you're wrong on the game bet now. Come on, should we bet on this?
Admit it.
We should bet on this.
Until tomorrow, we have a final, or later tonight we have a final score. I will not admit I'm wrong.
Winner gets to put a pie in the face of our producer Adam Bernard.
Somehow Adam Bernard's catching strays here.
I'm not getting in the crossfire here. You two figure it out.
Oh man,
where the hell did that come from?
By the way, I broke down this prop and another one I'm going to give out on the NFL Underdog Picks article over on Fantasy Alarm. So I threw some more stats out there for Jamal Williams. Just this line's just a little low. So yeah, whatever. All right, what else? You other?
Listen, I love your prop. Right? I love your prop, and I think your prop is going to hit. I'm going to put money on that prop hitting, 100%.
But maybe not the Panthers +3.
Why is Chuba Hubbard, the pass-catching complimentary back, why is his prop sitting at 34.5 rushing yards? I don't really get that. It seems a little fishy. It seems like a high line, and yet I'm still going to take the under on that because what the hell's going to happen when Carolina is behind in this game, 21-10, and it's the second half. They're just going to keep passing the ball, and you're going to take the running game out of it. So Miles Sanders is the lead back in this backfield. Chuba Hubbard under 34.5 rushing yards. I'm betting that one. And then I said to you, Carolina sucks against the tight end. Juwan Johnson over 23.5 receiving yards. Their linebackers are just going to zip. Derek Carr's going to go bloop. You're going to see that seam route. Juwan Johnson over 23.5 receiving yards. They're both bets are both props are -120. Might as well take a little bit of profit there. You can, parlay them up if you want with the anytime touchdown from Michael Thomas or Servo's Jamal Williams bet there. The only thing you just don't want to parlay it with is Servo's Panthers +3 bet.
To your point, the Miles Sanders or Chuba Hubbard last week had 60 rushing yards. So I think that's maybe why the rushing yards line has gone up a little bit because people if there's an overreaction to last week's stats. But I'm with you. I wouldn't take the over on that at all. You mentioned earlier, by the way, suggesting Miles Sanders' receiving yards. 12.5 is the line I'm seeing over under on DraftKings. If you think the Panthers might be trailing here, he gets a couple dump offs. I mean, 12.5, he could go over that in one catch. So
I like that. I like that a lot. I would do that. Oh, look, Ethan says Juwan's prop line bumped to 25.5 on Prize Picks and Underdog.
Yeah, shop around to see where it is on FanDuel, BetMGM, DraftKings, and try to get that lowest line. Same thing with the Jamal Williams one. That's one that's been rising. I started researching for that article I mentioned, over the weekend, and it used to be at like 54.5, and it was going up, a yard every day. So whatever you can get the lowest on these, obviously. All right, so those are picks for Panthers Saints tonight. Again, Howard said he's got his best bets article over on Fantasy Alarm previewing tonight's two games. We have the NFL DFS Showdown playbook too, previewing tonight's games from a DFS perspective. So definitely jump on that. Get the All-Pro subscription if you haven't already, the free 7-day trial, and get those articles for free. All right, let's look at the second game tonight. We got the Browns against the Steelers. Another divisional matchup here. Should be a good one. Browns favored by 2 points. Over-unders at 38.5. And this one, I think we're going to agree a little bit more on this game because I got the Steelers plus 2.5 actually on FanDuel. I think you said you like the Steelers plus 2. But listen, last week I gave out the Steelers as a home underdog because they're against the spread record with Mike Tomlin as a home underdog is just elite. It's one of the best in the league over the past 20 years. As a home underdog with Mike Tomlin, 16-5-3 against the spread are the Steelers. They're just a team that comes out motivated, that they're getting points, especially at home. So I like the Steelers to bounce back. This was a trend. You mentioned it last week with the Broncos, how, at home in September against the spread, it didn't come through in week 1, but you're going back to it in week 2. It was the right call on the Broncos. It just didn't really come to fruition because they had that big lead, but I'm going back to it in a similar way with the Steelers here. Another couple quick stats here. The Steelers on Monday Night Football, historically good. They're 12-1 straight up on Monday Night Football since 2014, 19-3 straight up on Monday Night Football under Mike Tomlin since 2007. They've also won 20 straight home games on Monday Night Football. So give me the Steelers here. I would look at their money line too, but as long as you're giving me points, I like them against the spread.
I can throw some extra numbers at you. I love that you got that extra half a point. I didn't see that half a point at the time that I was laying my bets down. So I wish I got that extra half a point. I'm hoping that it doesn't cause
it's still out there on FanDuel last time I checked.
Yeah, I'm not going to rebet the game. I already bet the game.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Why am I going to rebet it? Hedge with the extra half a point? Come on. I'm not crazy. I put a unit on it. It's not like I was like, oh, here's my mortgage money. Servo, the Browns are 40-29-1 all time on the road in Pittsburgh. 40-29-1. However, in the era of the spread, they are just 18-25-1 against the spread in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. So we have data on our side that says that Browns could win this game easily, but Steelers love to cover that spread at home. And there you go.
Yeah, and away from those numbers we were just throwing at you, I mean the Browns, I just think they're being overvalued because they beat a Bengals team last week, which what?
The best running back in the NFL plays for the Cleveland Browns. Well,
outside of Nick Chubb, I think overall as a team, they beat up on a Bengals team, which I think we have to view differently now. Now that Joe Burrow is clearly not in sync with this offense. He was rusty in week 1 after not practicing. It was like a rainy, bad weather game. It was an easy win for the Browns there at home, but I just think there's going to be a little bit of letdown, and people are going to be like, oh wait, the Steelers are, they're not just a pushover team. And I know expectations are kind of down around Pittsburgh, especially just in the AFC North this year, but I think that, we just went through all those numbers. When they're at home as underdogs on Monday Night Football, especially against the Browns, as you mentioned, they're going to be playing tough here.
Well, I just think they cover the spread. I don't necessarily know if I would take the Steelers on the money line. You seem pretty sure that the Steelers on the money line are a great bet. What is the money line for these teams here? I
think it was plus 110 last time I looked.
All right, minus 130 for the Browns, plus 110 for the Steelers. Yeah. That's not terrible.
I would consider it, but I mean, as long as you're getting the points, I would take that for sure over that. But I don't think it's out of the question for the Steelers to win this game.
I'm not going to say it's out of the question. I just think that, I like the Browns in this one as well. I'm just saying.
The Steelers, you mean, right?
Yeah. No, I like the Steelers with the points, but I like the Browns to win this game out.
I see.
Yeah.
You also like the over, right?
Well, this one, yeah, because this one's going to finish 21-20.
Ah, okay. 41 points. Right? Hit the over, and we win our bets against the spread.
I mean,
shout out
science,
to
right?
Ethan
Science.
Quimby here. First, he said Panthers +3 and Panthers +2.5. Servo, what drugs did you take today? Can I have some?
I mean, listen, the Monday night home dogs. That was like a thing. I mean, I've like researched this. I've looked it up. It was like huge in like the 70s and the 80s, right? Where it was like always Monday night home dogs continuously covered over and over again. But as it's kind of stretched out now, in particular, like the last 10 years, it has not gone that way. So you have to understand that, when you hear Monday night dogs, like, they're like old school people be like, yep, you got to bet them. You got to bet them. But they're not taking into consideration the shift in the data. It's like looking at, like, if you're a fantasy player and you're looking at ADP, the ADP that's sitting there in August is very different from the ADP sitting there in June. And that ADP, you've got like, you have to like isolate what it looks like recently as opposed to looking at it from the whole way back. So when you're looking at trends like that, you have to pay attention to it. But I mean, listen, I think you're onto it here with the Steelers, no doubt about it. Panthers, I don't know. Maybe there is some ayahuasca involved here. Did you do a darkness retreat? Have you eaten mushrooms recently?
Yeah, I did the ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers.
Nice.
So you like a Chubb prop here, right?
Chub it up with what? An anytime touchdown? Is that what I laid my money down on to? Oh, yes, I did. Yeah. Dude didn't get into the end zone last week. Dude gets into the end zone this week. He does it. I love it. I mean, it's only -120 on DK. It's terrible, right? I mean, they're basically saying, when was the last time you saw a -120 on a touchdown, anytime touchdown prop? Like, they might as well, they're just like, right this way, Mr. Chubb. Your table's right here in the end zone, sir.
Ethan Quimby also likes Chubb. He says he likes Chubb over 91.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Thinks Chubb plays well against the Steelers. I mean, listen, he usually does. And as you mentioned it, he didn't get in the end zone last week, so he's due.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I keep forgetting that I get to like incorporate my favorite brand of analysis right there. He's the best analysis. Well, I mean, if we're looking at trends, like, dude hits 6 home runs in a row, and then you bet that 7th game, and you're wondering, is he going to hit that? Well, I mean, let the trend be your friend. Obviously, he's going to hit a home run every single game, right?
Yeah, or he's due to go 0-for-4.
Oh, see, you always got to put that negative Panthers +3 spin on it, dude. So bad.
All right. One of my props for this game, I like Kenny Pickett under passing yards. This is also a prop that's been being bet down. It's gone down a lot, but FanDuel under 205.5 passing yards. Sorry. Last year, I mean, we know the Steelers offense just leans on Najee Harris, leans on the run game. They don't ask Pickett to throw downfield much. He's doing some shorter completions. So that's all baked in here. He was under this he had under 200 passing yards in 8 of his 12 starts last year. He had, 230 plus yards last week, but that was a game they were trailing the whole game against the 49ers. He was throwing it, 50 plus times in that game too. So I don't really, he went over it, but he needed a ton of passing attempts to even get it over there. So I think this is a lower scoring game or lower scoring, offense for Steelers this time. And I think that his passing yards is going to be shortened here. Deontay Johnson's out, his top weapon. So I think that overall just hurts, how much the Steelers are going to move the ball. So yeah, give me the under on Pickett here. He's got to face this Browns pass defense that was, top 5 in the league last year, this secondary. And, whatever you thought of last week's gaming, in a rainy environment with Burrow not being in sync, but they held Joe Burrow to 82 passing yards last week. So I think that they're going to frustrate Pickett. I think if the Steelers do have success, it is leaning on Najee Harris in the run game, and Pickett just being more of a game manager type here.
All right. Well, I mean, I've got a couple of receiver props here, and our boy Ethan Quimby's actually asking about one of them that I actually have here right now, because this is about the injuries. Deontay Johnson lands on IR.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, we expect Allen Robinson to do some extra work, but how about Calvin Austin III? His receiving yards prop is 27.5. I think, I mean, listen, he could do that in one shot right there. A couple of catches last week. I look to him to play a little bit more of a role. I think I like his ability to stretch the defense. I think that is definitely something you can look at. I did not look at Allen Robinson's receiving yards prop because I hate Allen Robinson and he's dead to me. Sorry. I mean, I love you, Allen. You know that, but I won't bet on you or against you. I won't put you on near any fantasy teams of mine. So give me Calvin Austin III over 27.5 receiving yards. I think that's a pretty good bet. I have a different narrative on the game than you do, Servo. I think that the Browns run the ball hard. The Browns end up going up. And, I think that, what we could end up seeing here is, just a very tight, both teams running the ball heavily. And then with the more success on the side of the Browns forces Kenny Pickett to throw a little bit more in that second half. So Calvin Austin III going to get involved in that. Elijah Moore with Amari Cooper. I don't know. Has he been officially declared as out for this game? As I know that he was questionable. I know we're looking to see what's going on here. Let's take a look and see what we got for that. But that bumps up Elijah Moore, whose receptions prop at 3.5. I think is ridiculous. That the over 3.5 receptions for Elijah Moore is at plus 120, especially if Amari Cooper is either going to be limited or out on this game. I think Elijah Moore definitely steps up. I think what they're looking at here is that the normal comparison that Elijah Moore will be working out of the slot, and therefore he's going to see a bunch of Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it's going to be a tougher situation for him. But if Cooper is out or limited, Elijah Moore is going to line up all over the place. And I think that they're going to lean on him to help move those chains. So over 3.5 receptions for Elijah Moore for me. I'm getting it at plus 120 for DK. So that's where I'm at. Calvin had 6 receptions and A-Rob had 5 receptions last week. I like them both, getting 3 with Kenny needing to throw. But yeah, man, listen, I'm with you. 31.5 yards for A-Rob. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of, what the hell are George Pickens' numbers then? I mean, if does Pickens a 50 or a 60? Where's he?
By the way, latest I'm seeing Amari Cooper is expected to play according to Kevin Stefanski, Browns head coach. So
really?
I guess he's gonna try out, try to work out before the game to see if they'll put him as active. But either way, he might be limited. So your Elijah Moore prop could hit. But yeah, that's the latest on Amari Cooper. Groin injury, but expected to play apparently.
I gave out the under on his for RT Sports Pick'em contest. It was like 51.5 receiving yards.
Pickens
was, yeah.
I do like
Pickens, Cooper.
Oh, Cooper, okay. I do like the Calvin Austin one though. I'm with you on that because he's going to get, and I like, to Ethan's point, I like his receptions too, over 2.5, because he's like a smaller, shiftier guy that I think is going to fill right into that Deontay Johnson role. And maybe the defense is more focused on Pickens, more focused on Allen Robinson. And I think Austin could go overlooked and just have some shorter completions. And yeah, the 27.5 receiving yards, he could do that in those 3 or 4 catches that he has. So I do like that call. The Browns
are moving in my favor here. Elijah Moore's over 3.5 receptions is now down to plus 114 from the plus 120, and they moved up Calvin Austin's receiving yards prop up to 28.5 now. So
people taking it, yeah, good call. I just think in general with the Browns secondary, having Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome as the outside corners, and if Austin's going to be kind of like the slot guy in that offense, I think he's just got a better matchup. So I like his props for sure. Would probably stay away from Pickens, over under, because he's a guy that could catch a long pass. It could be one of his only 2 receptions in the game, but I'd kind of stay away. But I also think he might be kind of shut down for the most part by Ward or Newsome. All right, so those are some bets we got for Browns-Steelrs. Awesome, 2 divisional matchups on the Monday night doubleheader is pretty cool. We got to wrap up things before we get out of here. Just a couple quick baseball picks. You want to give out 1 or 2 to the people, Howard, for anything else going on tonight? I know my best bet for tonight, I'm going with the Astros first 5 run line. And this is basically just an overall narrative play because the Orioles, they're playing the Orioles. They clinched a playoff spot yesterday for the first time since 2016. The drinks are flowing. They had an overnight flight here to Houston. They were getting hammered. I think that this early on, the bats are going to be a little bit quiet for the Astros. They got Verlander on the mound. Verlander's been shaky in a couple of his recent outings, but I do think he bounces back at home here. He's going to take advantage of an Orioles offense that's maybe a little sluggish. And then the other side, the Astros get to face John Means, who also had a shaky first start when he came off the IL. I think he's going to need a little time to get back to what he used to be. Give me the Astros first 5 run line.
Astros first 5 run line. I like it, man. I like it. I'm gonna credit my MLB betting here to a conversation that Josh Wagner and I had. Now, Josh was doing the MLB best bets in the morning. He and I were talking about our show on Sirius XM. So we just kind of fell into this, and I asked him what he thought about the Padres in Colorado tonight. And there it is right there. He and I both came to that agreement. Padres team total over 4.5 runs. And then Michael Wacha over 5.5 strikeouts. Rockies, big whiff team at this point right now. Even at home, they struggle. Michael Wacha just having himself a hell of a year. Hell of a year for Wacha. If he didn't get hurt, man, there was so much more deliciousness there. So, Padres team total over 4.5. Michael Wacha over 5.5 Ks. Booyah. Colorado.
Both in the same game. All right, then my last pick here, just been, rinse and repeat, honestly. And it's not just because I'm a Phillies fan, but Trey Turner over 1.5 total bases. Betting on his props has been very profitable. Okay. And I'm not going away from it until he starts cooling down. He's been over 1.5 total bases now in 14 of his last 17 games too. And he's got Kyle Wright on the mound, who just gave up 6 runs in his last start against the Phillies. And Turner went 2 for 4 in that game. So give me Trey Turner until he cools down. I'm going over his total bases. His hits, runs, RBIs is at 2.5, but I'd look to that as well. But I like his total bases at 1.5.
Until he cools down. Dude hasn't cooled down all second half. What do you mean?
Exactly. And that's why I am betting it every day.
Right? It's like me betting Matt Olson home run props.
Exactly.
Every damn day, man. Every damn day.
All right. So those are our bets tonight. And good luck to all your own picks on this Monday night for Monday Night Football, baseball, everything. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern. Coming up after us, as always, 5 p.m. Eastern, the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS live show with John and Pemba and Colby Conway. And then 9 p.m. Eastern, we got the Monday Night Rant show with Edward Rouse. And don't forget the Monday Night Football Bettercast. Go download the Bettercast app. That starts at 7:15 p.m. Eastern tonight. Go win some prizes, win some cool collectibles, win some real stuff over at the Bettercast app. So go download that app for free right now. And join in for the Monday Night Football games tonight. All right, we got to get out of here, but appreciate everyone joining in, watching here on a Monday afternoon. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.